here today, and I'm glad we can have a good time and have some fun. But we are here to spend some time with the Lord and get to know Him a little bit better, right? And so that's my job, is to share the things that God continually teaches me. I do my best to bring to you, and hopefully in a way that you can understand it. And if not, well, then we can have a conversation later, right? And then that stirs growth in all of us. So, if you would, grab your Bibles. Hopefully you brought yours, because what is it that I'm telling you that this is?
What was the theme of the music today?
Huh?
What was the theme of the music today?
A relationship, yes. This is your relationship. It's not a book, it's not a textbook, it is a relationship. And as you spend time in it, it makes all the difference in the world. The more you get to know the pages of that book, the more alive it becomes to you, right? And so that's the purpose behind it. So if you would, open up to James chapter 1. And amazing for me, because y'all know me, we're in James chapter 1 the whole sermon. We don't leave it. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. That's freaking ridiculous, because I don't ever do that. I got done with it and I looked and I'm going, whoa, well, that was different. Okay, God. So, but it's a good thing, right? So, we're in James chapter 1. We're going to be looking at verses 2 through 8. And it's never a rush. It's never a speed race. I hated Bible drills growing up because with my dyslexia, I couldn't memorize where the books were. And you weren't allowed to use one with the tabs in it when you did Bible drills. And so I failed all the time, and I felt this big, right? So I'm never rushing you. You've got the time to get there. I am not worried about it. But when you are there, if you just give me a look and let me know.
James what?
James chapter 1. And we're going to be doing verses 2 through 8.
Quick question.
Yes.
Do you remember Circle Live Feed?
Yes. Thank you. Because I forgot last week. So, by the way, just before we get into this, did Rhonda do a good job with music today?
Of course.
Yeah.
She always does.
Good job singing.
I really appreciate it. So today's message is entitled Decision or Plan. And as we look at this, we're going to have this conversation about not only what is a decision and what is a plan, but how does that apply to us in our lives. And it goes a little bit deeper than I would normally go. But I hope that by the time we're done, you'll understand where I'm coming from. So James chapter 1, verses 2 through 8. Let's read it together. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all, without finding fault, and it will be given to you. But when you ask, you must believe and not doubt. Because the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the wind. That person should not expect to receive anything from the Lord. Such a person is double-minded and unstable in all they do. Of course, as always, we're continuing our discussion dealing with the reality of having that relationship with God, right? It's not just an idea of having intellectual knowledge, having a concept of God. I want you to have a relationship with Him. And that seems so uncommon in the world that we live in, especially since most of us struggle having relationships with just people that are in the same room with us. I mean, let's be honest. I can sit here and go quiet for about 3 minutes. And it won't take more than 2 before you have your phone out and you're texting the person next to you. Right? You might be doing it right now. That's just the way the world works today. We don't understand relationship. It is so disconnected. So how could we possibly have a relationship with God? Right? But the reality is, if you think that you're having a relationship with that phone, how can you not understand having a relationship right here? It's so important that we spend time talking about this relationship that God wants to have with you. You know, I tell you every week, I don't think there's been a week that I haven't said it. The good news is not that you get to go to heaven someday. If that's the only good news that Jesus had, it's not good enough for me. I'm done. That's where I was. That's where I've been in my life. Someday doesn't cut it. I need today. I need to know what it is about right now that matters for me to make a decision for Jesus Christ. The good news everywhere in the Bible, from beginning to end, wasn't that Jesus said you could have eternal life someday. It was that you got to live the kingdom life today. You got to have a relationship with Him, and He was going to dwell in you. Right? Now, all of that hocus pocus if you don't experience the relationship for yourself. I can tell you about my experience, but it doesn't do you any good if you don't have a way to experience what it is. And so I do my best every week to share the concept, hoping that something will sink in and make the difference in each one of your lives. And I've watched change for many of you over the last several years. And I'm grateful for it. But I can't ever let it go because I'm not there yet. And if I'm not there yet, I can't assume you are. And I'm grateful for the fact that we get to grow together. So we're going to continue to discuss this idea of having a relationship with God, not from that intellectual knowledge and that conceptual idea of God. And during that conversation, sometimes we got to deal with some tough stuff. And so I thought it would be a good idea to have a conversation about what it looks like to make a decision. Our modern definition, if you Google it, when you look up the word decide, the definition comes back as this: come to a resolution in the mind as a result of consideration. The problem is, for most of us, that means that a decision can be fluid because we're always continually considering what's going on around us, our circumstances, and then we think that our decision can change based on the conditions of our environment, right? But the real idea of a decision is not based on the conditions. It's based on facts that don't change. Let me tell you a little bit of a story. Back in 2019, Rhonda and I were asked to go out to Sturgis, South Dakota for the 79th annual motorcycle rally. The person that asked us to go out there to help with ministry out there asked us in January of 2019. Now, I didn't just jump on it and say, yes, we would go. I spent a lot of time considering all of the possibilities of that trip. And when I finally made the decision that we were going to go, And I had spent a lot of time considering, could we afford it? What's it going to take? How am I going to get there? What are we going to do? How am I going to take the time off of my business? I mean, there was a lot of stuff involved in it. I had a lot to overcome before I could make a decision that we were going to go ahead and go out to Sturgis, South Dakota. One of the things was I wanted to go really bad, and I needed to make sure I wasn't doing it for selfish reasons. If I was going, it had to be because of God. And so I spent a lot of time going over it. And when the decision was finally made, the major factors in that decision was the fact that going to Sturgis matched what my calling was. It also provided support to God's people, the lost and disenfranchised. And it was also perfectly in line with what the Bible calls every one of us to do. And since all of that was true, I could say, yes, that's what he wanted me to do. And so we decided we were going to go. I made the decision, immediately started putting together plans for the trip. All the way out, all the way back. I was excited. I was going to ride my motorcycle out with my wife. We were going to spend time out there. It was going to be good. Started thinking about all the things I needed to do to maintain my Honda Shadow, to make sure that it was ready for the trip. Trying to figure out how I was going to be able to get all the stuff and my wife and I out there that we needed. There was a lot to figure out. That was where my planning started. The problem is 2019 was a super crazy year for Rhonda and I. It was consistently and constantly presenting challenges every single week. And our lives were changing in very major ways. 2019, January 20th, 2019, we started our very first service here in Bay City with Narrow Path Christian Church. We became full-time ministry. I was still leading the Celebrate Recovery in Midland at that point. I was also into year 8 of running our own business. It's funny. Today is actually the anniversary date of us launching that business back in 2011. We had also become the point of contact for Broken Chains JC for the entire state of Michigan that year. We had a lot of stuff going on. We had moved buildings twice during that year. We had stepped out in faith in so many ways. And all of that on top of the fact that we still had to live day-to-day life and deal with family issues. Now, all of us know family issues can be enough without anything else on top of it, right? And then you got the fact that I'm an addict and I'm broken. So I've got that to deal with as well. I can't ever take a break from my recovery meetings. I've got to keep working my program because I'm never safe unless I'm always on top of it, right? 2019 was crazy, to say the least. Life was changing literally every day. And throughout the year, the person that had asked us to be a small part of what was going to be happening out in Sturgis that year, they would consistently call us and say, I see this is going on in your life. Are you still going to be able to make it to Sturgis? And every time they asked, I said, we'll be there. I decided we're going to be there. The decision's been made, we'll be there. No matter what happens, we'll be there. it lined up with what God said that I needed to do. And so I made the decision. By the time we were supposed to leave for that trip, there had been so many obstacles in our way that by worldly standards, by anyone's standards, we should have stayed home. I mean, literally, the day we left, Rhonda was sick. That's just one part of the crazy that went into that. But more than that, every single person that was supposed to be in Sturgis with Broken Chains JC that was traveling there, not the people that lived there, but the people that were traveling there to be a part of that, all of them backed out for one reason or another. And because of that, we did make it there. We ended up being all but one of the testimonies for all of the Celebrate Recoveries for that entire week. And I was one of two people that went out on Main Street and handed out Serenity rags that year. That decision and the follow-through for it also gave me the opportunity to see a dream come true, a desire of my heart in a very major way. You see, back in 2017, Rhonda and I had driven out to Wyoming for a leather trade show. And on the way back, we decided to come through Hill City and the Sturgis area. We wanted to see Mount Rushmore and Crazy Horse and do all the sights, right, on the way back through. And as we were coming out of Hill City, heading towards Mount Rushmore, coming back from Crazy Horse, we were talking, and I had told Rhonda, now mind you, at this point, my motorcycle was put away in a storage unit and had been put away for several years at that point. I hadn't been riding for a while, but I looked at my wife and said, someday I am going to ride a Harley through the Black Hills to Sturgis to the rally. And while I'm out here, I'm going to stay at a place just like that. And I pointed to this dirt road that went into a whole bunch of cabins. You know, clearly it was just, you know, summer vacation homes, or you know, I didn't know what it was, but they were nice looking cabins, right? And I pointed to the side of the road, and I'm going to stay at a place like that. Someday that's going to happen. So when we got the opportunity to go out to Sturgis, I'm excited because I'm going to get to ride a motorcycle in the Black Hills and go to Sturgis. Now, not everything in that is going to work out the way I told my wife, but in my mind, close enough. It's going to be good. I'm going to ride my Honda Shadow. I'm going to ride the Black Hills. I'm going to go to Sturgis. It's going to be good. Well, of course, I won't be staying in those cabins, and I won't have a Harley or any of that, right? So we get to the day it's time to leave. By this point, I had to go out and get a job instead of running my business because ministry was becoming too much to be able to handle a business and my job at the same time. And so I was wrapping up my business and doing ministry and working a full-time job. I had just started. I was in my first 100 days of the job by the time it came time to leave to go to Sturgis. And so I shouldn't have been taking any time off from work. So I didn't have the 2 weeks that I had planned on to be able to ride out, stay out there, and ride back. So I was going to have to trailer the bike out. Now, Rhonda and I had trailered the bike down to South Carolina earlier in the year, in March, for a memorial service for a dear friend. May, sorry. you're right, May. So we knew that the car could tow the trailer and do that. Matter of fact, it towed it through the mountains. It didn't like it, but it did it. And so it came day of time to leave for our trip. It was a Wednesday that we were leaving. And we were going to have to drive pretty hard to get out there, to be out there by Friday, but it was going to work out. We had to do Bible study that Wednesday night for the church. So I loaded the bike on the trailer, hooked it up to the car, drove into Auburn to our Bible study, and nobody showed up. Well, it's frustrating, but that's okay. Nobody's here. We'll just get a little bit of a head start, right? And so we leave. We get on the road. We get about 100 miles from home, and the transmission starts overheating in the car. We're not making Sturgis with this car because we're not making it through the hills. Now, I already knew that I was probably going to have to offload the trailer, go off the bike, off the trailer when we got to the hills because I didn't want to overwork the transmission too bad. And I could ride the motorcycle through the hills and then load the trailer back up, and I could handle that, but I couldn't handle riding the 20 plus hours straight through by myself. But my wife and I could share the load driving the car. Well, now the transmission's overheating. We pull over, get off. I offload the motorcycle. We let the transmission cool down. Rhonda drives the car, and we take all the back roads home while I ride the motorcycle to get us home. I get home, and I go in and I tell my dad, I'm taking your truck. We're taking it to Sturgis. My car is not going to make it. Here's the keys for my car. I'm sorry. I didn't ask. That was wrong. All right. Hook up the trailer to his truck, and of course he's understandable about it. He had actually asked me if I should take his truck. And I said, no, it'll be all right. The car will be fine. I didn't want to take his truck. So we hook up the trailer. We load everything out of the car into the truck. We drive out of the driveway. We get down the road a little ways, and I decide to pull into the grocery store parking lot because I had forgot to check the lights on the trailer. I got out, walked around the trailer, walked around the truck. When I plugged the trailer into the truck, I blew all the lights in the truck. All the lights in the truck. So I'm not driving the truck, especially at night, especially that far. We have to go back home. By now it's 9:45 at night. I've been up for over 24 hours straight. I was exhausted. And we get home. I'm frustrated. Anybody understand why? I'm frustrated. Rhonda's sick. She doesn't feel good. She's not even feeling like she wants to do the trip. Am I right?
I still wanted to do the trip. I just wasn't feeling good.
Yeah. And I'm really, really frustrated. I messaged the people that were hosting us out there in Sturgis, and I told them what was going on, and I said, I will be there. I don't know how, but I'm gonna work this out, but I don't have a plan right now. So this is what's going on. I'm really, really sorry. But I'm gonna come up with a plan. I don't know what it is. Rhonda says, offload, just take the motorcycle, load your stuff on the motorcycle, leave me home and go. And I looked at her and I said, I cannot, in my condition, ride 1,200 miles on the motorcycle by myself. I can't do it. I physically can't do it. I am not in the condition to do it. I didn't prep myself to do it. This is something you got to be prepared for. And not only that, but I want you to go with me. And she said, well, I can't. I'm too sick and I can't ride with you. I stopped. I prayed. Now everybody, the person that invited us out to Sturgis, the person that was hosting us, our church family, everybody we had a conversation with said, it's probably God saying you weren't supposed to go. And I'm angry, and I'm sitting in the car, and I pray, God, you told me to go, and I'm going. I'm not changing my mind. So I need a solution to this. I turned to Rhonda and I said, will you go with me if I take the car and leave the motorcycle home? She wasn't sure, but she said yes. I got the motorcycle off the trailer and went and parked it in the shed, put the trailer away. We got all the stuff that we needed in the car, and we took off. It's 10:30 at night. We needed to be in Sturgis on Wednesday night, and we needed to be in Sturgis by Friday for sure. They wanted us there actually on Thursday. But the first Celebrate Recovery was Friday. So we take off, and I start driving. I'm exhausted. We got all the way into Iowa before I just couldn't do it anymore.
I think so, I can't remember.
And I pulled over. By now it's 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Pull over into a rest area, and I go lay down on a picnic table and crash. I wake up an hour or two later, and we got to find a place to stay for the night. So I found the closest town that had a Celebrate Recovery. There was meeting that night. We drove to that town. We went to their Celebrate Recovery, and then we checked into a hotel. First of all, shouldn't have been able to find one. It was the week of Sturgis. Shouldn't have been able to find one, but we did. Then the next morning we get up early and we take off so that we can make the last couple hundred miles into Hill City, where we're going to be staying for our host, with our host. Now here's where it gets really good, guys. We're coming down the road into Hill City. My GPS on my phone is telling me where we've got to go, and it says that I have to turn in 400 feet. I look at Rhonda, we look over. Where do you think we were staying?
And those cabins.
Those cabins. Those cabins. We pull in, I'm thinking a GPS is wrong, because this isn't a possibility. We get to the house with our host, and sure enough, it is. Beautiful cabin, just for us to stay in. I went to Sturgis without a motorcycle, guys. We got there, we did everything we needed to do, got into the cabin. We went to the Celebrate Recovery that night. We had the car, which gave us the opportunity to give a couple of people a ride with us into Spearfish. And then we came back. We got done with that, came back into Hill City, spent the night there, got up Saturday morning, and they said we're going into Hill City for breakfast, and then when we get back, we'll figure out what we're going to do. So we have breakfast, we come back, Rhonda says, I can't do anything, I am just too sick, I'm going to bed. And so I go to our host and I say, look, I came because I'm here to go spend time on Main Street and tell people about Jesus. And so I'm going. And so give me a good idea of which is the best way into town, where can I park, you know, I don't know anything about what I'm doing. He said, well, just hang out for a little bit. One of the local guys is going to be here, and he'll escort you in, and he'll help you figure out where to park and all of that. I said, okay. He said, but don't take your car. I said, no, you don't understand. I have to go. He said, no, I don't mean don't go. I said, don't take your car. Take my wife's Harley. I've never ridden a Harley before. You remember I told you I was going to ride a Harley through the Black Hills into Sturgis Rally, and I was going to stay in a place like that. God granted my heart's desire because I made a decision and I followed through no matter what. The difference between a decision and a plan. One of them is flexible, dealing with everything that comes at you, and the other one is not. In the verses we read in James, he tells us that a decision is what is necessary for us to have our faith tested and to be able to pass the test. Because if there is no decision, there is no decision. If there is no decision, there's only a plan. When those adversities come, you will quit. Every one of our plans have to have contingency factors. They have to be variable. You have to be able to roll with things as they come at you. You have to deal with the conditions every single day. But if you make a decision, the decision never wavers. James chapter 1, 2 through 8. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. But when you ask, you must believe and not doubt, because the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea blown and tossed by the wind. That person should not expect to receive anything from the Lord. Such a person is double-minded and unstable in all they do. James tells us that if we're struggling to make decisions, what we need to do is ask God for wisdom. And I hope you noticed it. James tells you if you ask God for wisdom, He will give it to you with no exceptions, no conditions. You ask Him, He'll give it to you. Now, what you do with it is up to you. Some people might ask me, why do I think James is talking about a decision when he didn't say anything about a decision in this verse at all? Well, the reality is verse 6 says you must believe and not doubt. The Greek word that's used there for must believe and not doubt is the same word twice. It means to separate thoroughly. That is, literally or reflexively to withdraw from. It's by implication to oppose, or figuratively to discriminate. By implication, decide. Reflexively, it's to hesitate or contend, to make a difference, to discern, to doubt, to judge, to be partial, to stagger, to waver. It's got a lot of meanings, doesn't it? But here it comes down to this. That word in the Greek comes from two different Greek words combined together. The first word in that process, that word literally means the process or the reason. And the second word means to distinguish or to decide. So it's to process and reason and then make a decision. When it comes down to it, when James tells us that we must believe and not doubt, he's saying that once you ask for wisdom and you've got the truth about the circumstance, you must make a decision and hold to it because it's the truth. Every single situation that comes your way can cause you to change your plans, but you still must not change your mind about the outcome. James tells you and I that if we let our decisions change based on the environmental conditions, we will not receive the blessings. James 1:7-8 says that person should not expect to receive anything from the Lord. Such a person is double-minded and unstable in all they do. I have no idea what would have happened had I stayed home from the trip in 2019. What life would have looked like at home. But I can tell you this, I wouldn't have experienced my heart's desire, and the opportunity to go out to Sturgis this year wouldn't have presented itself. All things being equal, I will be riding my Harley in Sturgis and staying at those cabins again this year. And had I not made the trip out there, I wouldn't have made the connections that made that possible this year. I tell people all the time that a decision is necessary when it comes to recovery. The Christianese word, sanctification. If you're going to live a life of sanctification, you're going to live your life in recovery. You know, living for Christ and striving to live that life in every situation, right?
It's the third step.
Third and 12th, yeah, right, exactly. 12th step says, having had a spiritual experience as a result of these steps, we carry this message to others and practice these principles in all our affairs, right?
Right.
In every situation, no matter what, because of the decisions we made in step 1, 2, and 3. James tells us to ask God and believe that He'll give us the wisdom needed to make the decision. But it's so much more than just believing that He will give us wisdom. It's believing that the decision based on that wisdom is worth giving everything else up for. I went out to Sturgis and I didn't take a motorcycle. I was willing to give up everything I thought I wanted from that trip just because I had made a decision. James 1:5-6. If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. But when you ask, you must believe and not doubt, because the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the wind. I know that we got to believe not only that God will give us the wisdom, but in the decision that comes from that, because those words follow the statement of James about following through no matter what the circumstance is. There's a tool that is really useful for me when it comes to understanding Greek writing. Not so much in the spoken word of Greek, but when you read it written, there's this thing that often happens where the writer will make a point, they'll put the Y, and they'll remake the point. And often if you take and you find the Y in the middle, and you take the 2 points and put them together, and then read the Y after, it helps bring it together in a different way, because that's often how we read things in English. So I'm going to read it for you that way. Reading James chapter 1, verses 2-4, then reading 6-8, and then reading verse 5. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. But when you ask, you must believe and not doubt, because the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the wind. That person should not expect to receive anything from the Lord. Such a person is double-minded and unstable in all they do. If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. You know, when it came down to it, I wanted to break this sermon down a whole lot more. But quite honestly, the more I break it down, the more muddy it gets. The truth is, I'm giving you enough to chew on, and I'm honestly hoping that you're willing to let those words work on you. See, when we really start to develop a relationship with God, we can find that living out these decisions only becomes possible. Our stamina, our perseverance, they get stronger because of the fact that we have made a decision based on truth. In the beginning of my walk with Christ, honestly, I wasn't able to make just one decision and then never fail. My stamina was really bad. I didn't do well with perseverance. I struggled with my belief. It took many failures to get to the point that I could stand the test of my faith. When I looked at the truth and made the decision and be able to stand on it. And the reason is because in the beginning, my decisions that I called decisions weren't decisions, they were plans. My plans always had to be flexible depending on what was going on around me. Many, many years before I really started to live my life for Christ. While I was still in my addiction, drinking, struggling with my sexual integrity issues, dealing with who I thought I was. The one thing I did start doing is asking God to show me His wisdom. And I remembered as a child somebody telling me that Solomon was the wisest man who ever lived, and he wrote the book of Proverbs, and it was a book of wisdom. And so I started reading a chapter of Proverbs every day. The chapter that happened to match the date. And I haven't quit since, I don't remember. It's been a long time. And as I started to gain that wisdom, I was able to start making decisions that I was able to hold on to. Because I asked. And without exception, God gave. Today I make decisions that I can count on and I can follow through with because I know the truth. Like I said, when I got back to the house that day that we were supposed to leave for our trip in 2019, I was done. I was spent. I had nothing left in me, and everyone was telling me it was God telling me I shouldn't go. And honestly, I was starting to believe it. But I'm grateful for the fact that the decision was already made and I couldn't change it. And I was going no matter what. The trip didn't get any easier. It was a struggle all the way through. But I'm still experiencing blessings because of it. But there's a decision that must come before any other decision. A decision that has to be made before you can experience anything that I might have described already. And that's the decision to give up everything and be willing to become a follower of Jesus Christ. Now, I have conversations with people all the time that are telling me they're following Jesus Christ. They made the decision. But in reality, it's more like a really elaborate plan. Because during my conversations with them, I often hear things like, I'll follow Jesus no matter what, and I know he's not going to make me give up X, Y, or Z. What they're actually doing is making a statement that's really a question. I'm willing to follow Jesus as long as. Saying I'm willing leaves it in a future state. Saying I am following Jesus is a decision. It's a decision that no matter what happens, even if it means not taking my motorcycle to Sturgis, I'm going to go. Even if it means that I have to sell my business to continue to serve him and go get a job, that's what I'll do. Even if I have to. That thing that you just thought of, yes, even that.
For my job.
Today, if you're tossed back and forth by the circumstances of your life and the things that you desire, you need to ask yourself a question. Did you actually decide to follow Jesus? Or are you working out an elaborate plan? None of this is easy. We started with James telling us to consider it pure joy whenever you face trials of any kind, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. Father God, I praise you and thank you for the fact that you and you alone have the answers and the wisdom. I thank you for the fact that if we ask, you'll provide that wisdom so that we can make a decision. Lord, today I'm asking you to work on each one of us, especially me, as we continue this journey towards a real relationship with you, where we can live inside of a decision instead of being tossed back and forth by a plan. Lord, I praise you for the fact that as we live inside of a decision, you provide everything that we need and we lack nothing. And I ask that today, Lord, you do that work in each one of us. I pray this in your name, Jesus. Amen. Guys, I love y'all. I hope you have something to chew on for the rest of the day. And I'll see you back here at 6 o'clock for our continuing of our series on the kingdom life. And one more quick announcement. Friday, July 28th, there will be no movie night. Because it is Rhonda and my anniversary. Don't ask me which one because I'll forget and I'll get it wrong and she'll yell at me.
16.
Huh?
16.
16. My memory. Yep. 16 years. And it's also 2 days before my birthday. And the day after my birthday, I will be leaving to go out to Sturgis. So I'm going to spend some time with my wife because that's the right thing to do. So, all right, guys, have a great night, a great day, and I look forward to having more conversations with you.